What's up guys, today I am back with another video. Today we are playing Geometry Dash, but you can control it with your microphone. Today, to this goal, we're beating Electroman Adventures. Let's get it. Boo. 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 It's so delayed, bro. What? Do. 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 Okay, 18%. I'll take that. I'll take that. Boo. 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 Do. You're really not beating Electroman Adventures with this. Like, actually, we're just gonna try to beat this level. Do, do. Hold on. I'll try to think of a way I could get to the coin. Dude. Do. Okay, there we go. That's a practice round. Wait, how does it work with platforming? I'm kind of curious. Cause like all I could do is jump, no? Like, I really want to know, like, well, let's see. Oh. Do. Left. Right. I mean, I guess it's not gonna work. Like, all I could do is jump, no? Do. 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 You know, I expect this. Like, the only triple spike in the game. What? No, not the only triple spike, but you get what I mean. Do. 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 I can't with the triple spike, bro. I can't. I can't, bro. Do this with the triple spike. Do. Yes. Do. 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 No. No. I was too afraid to like do long because like I thought I was gonna. Oh my gosh, no. 73, that could have been it. Do. 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 Boo. 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 Boo.
My gosh, this bot is annoying me! This bot annoys me so much! Ew. Ew.
Alright. Let's get back. Do. 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 Yeah, I knew that wasn't a good idea. Alright, you know, 15 more attempts and then I'll finish with this, cause like I can't be doing this for like an hour straight. Do. 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 And 5 more. Oh, now 4 more. Do. 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 Alright, lock in. Last attempt, guys. Lock in. Alright, there's no part 2 or nothing. Like, if I don't beat this now, like, I'm not gonna beat this. I'm not gonna beat this ever. Lock in, chat. Don't chat. Lock it, guys. Lock it. Dude. 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 Yep, that was kind of depressing, you know. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Comment down below your favorite part. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description. And until next time, stay niche.